Scorching or burn marks on your project parts can be frustrating. Sure, you can sand them away, but that can be a lot of extra work. And if you ignore the underlying problem that's causing those burn marks, you could be shortening the life of your saw blade. Today, we'll identify what may be causing your scorch and burn marks, and I'll show you what to do about it. While it's possible to get burn marks when cross-cutting boards, these shortcuts across the grain are not nearly as problematic as the long rip cuts along the grain. We'll be focusing on those cuts in this video. However, all the same suggestions may be applied to your cross cuts if you're struggling there as well. Put simply, scorching is caused by heat buildup through friction, so much heat that the surface of the wood is burning. That's not just a cosmetic issue. If your wood's getting that hot, so is your saw blade, and excess heat will dull your blade prematurely. So it's worth trying to identify what is causing the excess friction and heat. One of the most common causes is a dirty saw blade. As you cut the wood, the resins inside will build up on the blade's teeth. Some types of wood, like pine, can dirty a blade relatively quickly. So regularly examine your blade's teeth. When they start to look grimy, it's time to clean them. I'll link to a video tutorial below that shows you how to properly clean a saw blade. If you've cleaned your blade and you're still getting burn marks, it may be dull. The problem is it's difficult to test the sharpness of a blade by touch alone. Maybe if you have a new blade on hand so you can compare the two, but touch is subjective. Who's to say if the blade feels a little dull or a lot dull? In my opinion, it's better to rule out all the other causes of scorching first, and if none of that helps, then you should send your blade in for sharpening. So let's consider some other causes. For example, the speed at which you feed your board into the blade can make a big difference. If you feed too slowly, the blade's teeth will be passing over the wood fibers many more times than is necessary to cut them. This obviously generates friction and more heat and is likely to scorch the wood. The consistency of your feed is another critical issue. You have to keep the wood moving through the blade, because whenever you pause or slow significantly, that is the most likely place you'll get a burn mark. The problem is most common when you near the end of the cut and you pause to reach for your push block. Learn to keep the board moving at an even pace from the beginning of the cut to the end. Finding the right speed may require some experimentation because you can also feed too quickly for the blade you're using. The faster you feed the wood, the harder it may become for the blade to keep up with the sawdust that has to be cleared from the kerf. This is a function of blade tooth count. The more teeth on the blade, the smaller the gullets between them. And the smaller the gullets, the more difficult it may be for them to clear the sawdust from the kerf as it cuts. Clearing the sawdust is critical to keeping the blade cool and the wood scorch-free. Many people use general purpose or combination blades for all their cuts. These have 40 or 50 teeth, which is a good number for efficient cuts in most 3/4 inch thick materials, especially softwood like pine. Thicker boards obviously require more dust to be removed from the kerf, perhaps more than the gullets in your combination blade can handle. In that case, you might slow your feed rate a little bit to allow the gullets to catch up. But as I said, this can also add friction and heat. So some trial and error may be required, and sometimes the solution is to use a different blade with fewer teeth. A 24-tooth rip blade will cut more aggressively, clear the dust more quickly, and may eliminate your scorching problems, especially when ripping thick materials. We have several tutorials on saw blades if you want to learn more about what blade may be best for the task at hand. I'll link to those below this video. Another common cause of scorch marks is a misaligned table saw. Both the fence and the blade must be parallel to your saw's miter slot. A quick way to check this is with a combination square, letting the body of the square slide in the miter slot while the end of the rule touches the blade or the fence. Adjusting your saw is not difficult, but the process depends on the type of saw you own. We made an extensive tutorial about that about a year ago. I'll link to it below as well. Now, what if the blade you're using is clean? You've tried adjusting your feed rate. You've tried a blade with fewer teeth. You've checked the alignment of both the fence and the blade. You've even sent your blade out for sharpening, and you're still getting scorch marks. In that case, the problem may not be the blade. It may not be the saw. It may not even be you. The problem may be the wood itself. Some wood is just prone to scorching. Maple scorches very easily. So does walnut and cherry. Very hard woods like Purple Heart and other exotics burn easily. Sometimes it's just not possible to completely eliminate all the burn marks. In that case, your goal should be to keep them to a minimum by following the tips in this video. If the marks are very light and they don't go too deeply into the wood, they may be sanded away very easily. There's a lot to learn about using a table saw safely and effectively. Don't forget to check out the links I've put below this video. And there you will also find a link to a comprehensive table saw course on our website, which is full of tips and techniques to help you become a better woodworker. We'll see you next time. Ridge Carbide is the best kept secret in woodworking. I kid you not, their saw blades are second to none, both in quality and performance, and they're less expensive than the other ultra premium brands. Do yourself a favor, use the link and the discount code below this video. You will never go back to cheap blades again. Wait, don't go yet. If you're new here, please subscribe and remember to ring the bell. I would really appreciate that. Give us a thumbs up, or better yet, leave us a comment. I always read them. And be sure to check out the latest issue of Stumpy Nubs Woodworking Journal. It's always packed with tips, tricks, and tutorials designed to make you a better woodworker.